for you. I am super excited to be able to present all the artists we have here this evening. We should have more people coming, but either way, the poet saying is 1 or 100. You gonna get the same show. We are gonna perform from our toes through our souls out through this show to you tonight. So I hope that y'all are all prepared to receive a bunch of beautiful art, because all of us have prepared ourselves to give it to you. Now I will tell you that one of our first poets up is one of my favorites in Austin. The beauty here is, so we call this the Legends of Austin Poetry. Now I was on the slam team back in 2010, but since then there have been a lot of poets who came through both before me and after. But every single person in this show tonight has been doing this for at least 10 years or more. Now Tom's been doing this since before dinosaurs were spitting poetry. Whenever the cavemen came around and started arcing about dirt, Tom's like, youngsters. So I'm so excited to be able to reveal to you Tom the World Poet and his whole group behind him. So please give a big round, warm welcome to Tom the World Poet.
Dedicated to the Tonkawa, the Raiding Comanches, and the Meepo Apaches. We treated this as a sacred site, long before Barton Springs had a name, long before we ever came. I first met you in 1992. I just done a tour with Mother Gong and David Allen, and did a backyard show in Austin with Ken McKenzie from KUT. I got the taste for Austin then, and it never went away. Came back to stay. Now the beauty is, there were things before, as Seth said. Chicago House in 1880 was a place where O. Henry used to practice Gilbert and Sullivan songs on Sunday afternoon salons and soirees. Now, when Peggy and Glenda in 1992 welcomed poets and musicians to the world around them, there were 2 shows: upstairs, poetry; downstairs, plays, and of course, drama and music. Always poetry and music. Parallel languages, but not equivalent. Leonard Bernstein said, poetry and music are parallel, but they're not the same. With music, it is part of your whole body attentive. With poetry, you have to ask, what is he really saying? And when I came and was made welcome by Peggy and Glenda and the volunteers of Chicago House, which was, of course, a double-story brick building and still is there as a college bar like half of Austin now, it was sort of welcome to our small tribe circle. And then I realized there's a lot more than this. I discovered Houston Tillotson College. The faculty there were aware of the Harlem Renaissance and determined to keep poetry as a lingua franca of Austin. And black culture has always been right on the front line of the verbal cultures, because they know without word we are silent victims. And so it was my pleasure to meet and greet with Ali Owesi, a 300-pound original Black Panther. And when I asked him, why are you still doing the same poetry you used to do in the 1960s, he said, Tom, nothing has changed. And then I met Dr. Marvin Kimbrough and Floyd Freeman. Dr. Marvin Kimbrough is one of those poets that sneaks up on you because she actually says things that we dare not say in a beautiful and welcoming way. And then, of course, I met Raul Salinas from Resistencia, who represented Puerto Rican culture, Spanish-speaking culture, and a lot of cultures that were invisible at that time and in that place. They were the 3 spaces that I felt safe in, where poetry was actually regarded as worthwhile to listen to and indulge in, because they were open, living, and free. No price tag on them, no way that you could say, you're not welcome. You are welcome. Always, we say the same. We are welcome to each other. And word is just a chant, a prayer, an anthem, an invocation, an affirmation of our continuing collective and individual existence. quite well that we are part of a circle. People say, why Austin? And there are two reasons. First is the springs, the water. We're the only capital city with a spring at the core of its being. Barton Springs in 1992 was part of that SOS which preserved the springs. But it was a poet, Susan Bright, who said, you don't seem to understand. You want to keep the springs of Austin alive, but the springs are in love with the trees. And the trees are in love with the water. And they rely upon each other. It's an alchemical wedding. And they said, okay, we'll make an elder tree ordinance with all trees that are bigger than 28 inches in diameter will be saved temporarily. That still stands. That was a poet in bold. Another poet you may have heard of, Albert Hoofstikler. He sat on park benches in Hyde Park and gave people poetry. Just gave people poetry. Made chapbooks. Won the Austin Book Award. Did readings at Rutamaya, readings at La Dolce Vita, readings at, New World Valley, and venues long gone from us. But if you do not believe he had a power in this community, you need to know there is a small pocket park in Hyde Park called Hoofstikler Park. It was supposed to be outside the city hall, but other people claimed it for another activist, which is fine. Poets have no place in this world. It has to be made like a conscious ceremony, like this, tonight. And then, of course, you say, well, these things no longer exist, but they do. All our ancestors are sitting in the seats next to you. So when I call out Susan Bright, say, hola, if you knew her. Albert Hofstetter, hola. Dr. Martin Kimbrough, hola. You see, our collective memory is in our skin. It lives because we dream. We are aware of this. And then venues you've never heard of. When I came here, there was Chicago House. After a while, there was Electric Lounge. But in between, there was a place called High Times Tea Bar and Brain Gym on South Congress. At that time, the City Council was actively against cafe culture. And we are made of coffee. Coffee in our veins. Without coffee, we are just tea drinkers. And that's just too calm. So, to be hyper and active means to be an Austinite. And I love the fact that we're not the only ones who hunker to get together. So High Time Tea Bar and Brain Gym, they sold smart drinks, they had street furniture, and they had poetry. All of which were warred against by the City Council at that time, in the early 90s. And then, of course, there were places that you have probably remembered from a distant past, like the Green Room, like early co-op radio, where Jim Ellinger said, okay, let's not be a format radio, let's be community radio, and have 6 types of music every hour. 6 types. You could not predict what would happen next. And we actually ended up poetry on the air, doing poetry on community radio. I used to do Midnight to Dawn on KUT when KUT was just KUT. And it was wonderful. In between the songs, you have a poem flowing on the actual theme of the works. And that's what we do still at Kenny Durham's backyard with word jazz, which has been going. Anyone heard of word jazz? Excellent. It's still happening. What I'm saying is, our ancestors are with us. They were examples to us. And even though they left their body temple behind them, they left, like Susan Bright left the Elder Tree Ordinance. Albert Hofstikler left 100 people at Hyde Park Theatre for his memorial reading. The place was so packed. It reminded me of some of the occasional times where Slam has filled theatres like the Paramount Theatre on Congress. We were doing the Hideout, and Chris the Future comes up and says, I want to go to the Slam, but I haven't got any money. I said, here's what you do. Take this poetry, give it to anyone around, and I guarantee you will get a free ticket. And he didn't believe me. No one believes poetry. No one believes poets. But he did that. He took the poetry out and gave it away and got a free ticket in to see the Slam. Now, it didn't just work for him. The same worked for me. The poet of this town is Jenna, who does the children's poetry at Kerrville Folk Festival and has done so many typewriter rodeos and other sorts of things. So it was beautiful, but it is Hakaput. It has to live. And poets are hermit crabs. We don't have a poets cafe. We don't have a place to go. We don't have sanctuary. So we use music venues. When I came to this town, I sat for 3 days at Mexicate Museum and listened to the Austin Acoustic Music Festival, which had 4 different types of music every hour. Absolutely amazing, astonishing, diverse. It's what I wanted to believe in. So I thought to myself, this is so good. I'm going to steal this idea and let's have a poetry festival based on a music festival. With music, of course, with poetry, of course, but welcoming the whole world in. We did it at Mexicate first, extended it to Electric Lounge, extended it to other venues like Joe's Greek Corner, and these are the places that no longer exist. Electric Lounge gone. All those ghosts and shadows remain. No one knows the poetry of the past. So let me name a few of them. I've already mentioned Albert Hoofstikler. I've already mentioned Susan Bright. But I haven't mentioned Patricia Fisk. Hey. Patricia Fisk made it to 94, cycles around one sun. And she formed a group of women poets called Ripe and Ready. The only criteria was you had to be elder. You had to be over 65 to be part of that troupe. And they performed at Hyde Park Theatre, and they were powerful, powerful grandmother wisdom. Now, she made books, of course, as we all make books, of course, and give them away, of course, because everything around us is made for sharing. But Patricia Fisk was astonishing because she had salons and soirees in her own home. And before she left us, she gave away all she owned. She thought, I can't take this into the next life. Here, you carry it for me. So we did. I have her books and I'm giving them away still. And not just her. Dr. Byron Cosen. Dr. Byron Cosen was a pediatrician. He was also a poet. And he called the Ritalin children my wildflower children. We also had Dr. Joseph Colin Murphy, who was an academic at UT, who tasted poetry and gave his job up and went out as a labourer in the forest. And these people, poetry hit them like an epiphany, like Saul on the road to Damascus. It happens any time you see an ordinary event and it becomes a miracle for you. Nothing will stay the same. Everything has changed. And if I mention the names, you just say, I don't know, but I'd like to find out. I went to the Austin History Center because I really admired Albert Hoofstikler. I went to his readings, I loved his paintings, I liked his generosity of spirit, I liked the fact that he had small circles in which he trained the future how to be the future. I said, I know that he's done 49 chapels. I want to read them all to honor him. They said, we only have 21. I said, he was the poet of this town. Where have you got his works? You're the Austin History Center. And they said, we only have what people give us. And I think it's true for all of us. We only have what people give us. And what they give us is their life. They give us their sounds. They give us the parts of them which are sacred and profound. Watch the space. I'll never be able to itemize them all the ones that have gone for sure. So I want to concentrate on the reading. People ask, okay, we know about the dead. So many. We know about the Spanish poets, we know about the black poets, although they don't. I mentioned Dr. Martin Kimbrough, I mentioned Ali Owaisi, I mentioned Floyd Freeman, perhaps. But some of these still live in places like Kenny Doan's backyard. Where as long as it's possible, I do a thing called word jazz. I believe all poetry is improvised on the spot unless you're stealing it from your own past and making it up. So they've improvised jazz, improvised poetry, and Stacey Shea Williams convened a group of poets called Word. And that word enabled us to free ourselves from the cage to the page and the grammarians. We are dialecticians, which means like butterflies. We're on the edge of this moment now. And the amazing thing about jazz, of course, not just that it comes from a source, but it also contacts your source. Poetry belongs to everyone. Dreaming belongs to everyone. And so we seek spaces and places that are our sanctuary and habitat, where we can feel at ease in places like these. For 10 years of my life, I stood upon this stage a ceremony called wassail. It was a pagan ceremony of the earth, celebrating the cultures of different countries. Jeremiah's, the band called Mundi, made him aware of all divergencies, all the different types of dreaming. I come from a dreaming land, and I live in a dream. Most of the time I can share it, but these spaces and places with consonant people, interdependent autonomous entities. We're going to hear tonight from Daniel. One of his poems burned itself into my DNA. Cloud, service, Kyra. The magic of words is not just incantation. It's not just memory and improvisation. You already know a word or two that is sung to you, to your song lines within, to your DNA, that has said, come out, trust yourself, trust your muse, trust now, trust today. And so if you're looking for live poetry and you've given up the page of Zoom, the hypnotism of that, every Thursday we can be in a small circle at Quacks or Manchac, down near Reverie Books, 1 to 3 called Molly's Poets. On the first Thursday in San Marcos, we can be in a live reading called Wake the Dead, because that is our true intention, to wake the dead. I put on a poetry festival in Salego called Table Rock Poetry Festival, and launched an anthology for animal tales, because the animals were here before us, and hopefully they'll be here after us. I go to this festival called Waco Wordfest, which is September 30th to October 2 this year. I do not say this as a theoretical thing because we want your bodies to come to consonant spaces and places that are safe for everyone. And of course, the memories of the past. Full English Cafe no longer exists, except in our memory. Strange Brew no longer exists, except in our memory. Movement's Galleries no longer exists. I'm not sure about Brushy Street 501. Is it alive? Who knows? This COVID has culled us and killed us. But we are not ones for separation. We are ones for conjugal dimensions to be together again. The important thing, of course, is that this was stolen from you. So I want to sing of the living. Stacey Shea Williams, who convenes Word intermittently. Harold McMillan, who holds diverse arts together on the east side. All the living poets who come, Molly Eiley, Thursdays 1 to 3, the Quacks. You see, we may be incarnate, but so do venues. Quacks is on the space where Strange Brew used to be. Rutamaya 1 was at 4th and Lavaca, was on the site of a paperback's place done by Dr. Charles Taylor, Chuck Taylor. You may know his son, Will Taylor, of Strings Attached. Well, Chuck Taylor tried to set up an independent bookstore called Paperback's Plus way back in the 80s. Of course, if you do an independent bookstore in this town like Melbourne Books, bookwoman, be prepared to lose everything. But convene people within your auspices so that people feel safe. We went to Melbourne Books for Women's Day. Went to Melbourne Books for the Lion and the Pirate. Went to Melbourne Books for the ACC Literary Coffee House. Now Melbourne Books does not dare gather anymore because the wonderful owner Joe got COVID, died last month. But we're still alive and shaking and vibrating with the possibilities of pleasure which are incarnate in the Word, because the Word becomes your flesh. The flesh is where all poetry lives. People think it's just in your head, but your whole body attentive. It's in your arms. When you remember how far your arms can go. It's in your legs. When you remember on the road. It's in your mind. When you work out what the saying is. It's in your heart like a Sufi with wings. It's in the whole body incarnate. It's in Austin. It's in Round Rock. It's Star Coffee and Round Rock Library. It's in Georgetown. At Georgetown Library, the Georgetown Poetry Festival. And Poetry Allowed on Zoom. It's in San Marcos. At Wake the Dead. It's in San Antonio with those sun poets who still meet despite despite the adversity of disease and plague. Despite all, we are still here today. Every one of us has so much to say, and we need each other to communicate today. You know, distance is a thief and a liar. You know, time is stolen from us too much. And all we have is now. And all we have is tonight. And all we have is each other. And it's enough. It's enough to reach out. It's enough to say, I am so glad you are here tonight. You are here today. And I hope, as vegetarian said, that we will be here in some incarnation. But your best poem will be your next poem. And anything you say to me today will be regarded as poetry. 1 degree of separation, no degree of separation. This is Austin as of now. It's not the Austin we knew once. It's now high rise riches, high rise rents, displacement of market. But we are still here. Friends we know, they're evacuating now. They went off to Eugene, Portland, Oregon. They went down to Bastrop. They went down to up to Round Rock. And I asked, well, where's the poetry? And they say, nothing here. There's nothing here. There is here. Why? The waters, the garden springs, and the brilliance of the people who choose to be here. Thank you for choosing to be here this evening. Oh, the band. This is the Festival band, which is the band that plays every Sunday night at Kickbutt. At Kickbutt Coffee Shop at 5775 West Airport. We invite the whole audience on stage and it becomes an orchestra. And these are the people who play when they are there. Like you are here, they are there, every Sunday night, except next Sunday, it's 3 to 6 rather than 7 to 10. 5775 West Airport. It's a magical place to be, but only if we're there. Here they are. Eddie, Kay, and Kay.
Y'all, please put your hands together for Tom World Poet and their band, baby. standing up here to stage. Man, I met Iggy way back in the day. So, Amiella is part of Austin Notorious scene, man. He's been back here since Jesus. Long before 2010. He was back here. Iggy, how long? When was your first time in Austin?
2010.
It was 2010.
Yeah.
It was back in that day, huh?
Uh-huh.
And then after that, I started touring around the country, started running him around the country. He started doing this thing with one of his homies called commentary. When they started incorporating poetry and comedy, and actually started busting through the college scene and started moving around the country. One of my favorite things about this poet is that his imagery has always brought tears to my eyes. Everything this dude does, he does from his soul. And so I asked him to be here tonight, and he was like, man, I haven't performed out there forever. And I was like, but do it one night for me, please. I just want to see it. And he so graciously agreed to be here tonight, and it's my pleasure and honor to be able to welcome him to the stage. Y'all, please give your hands, put your hands together, and give a round of applause. Thank you! I mean, I'll tell you all this. If you a slam poet and you ain't loud enough to be heard in this Coliseum, you know, I know, we all been smoking for 10 years. That shit happens, man. This is a real thing.
Why you got two? What's it got? Two? It's got two sweaters. No. Oh, it's back. Oh, watch your head. You better keep it on. Watch it. Oh, dang it. I might not even need this. Let's see. We'll see. I'll be on it. Let's see. Hello. Is this annoying? Can you guys hear that? That works?
Yeah, it helps.
That works? Okay. Ever since I was a small specimen, I knew I was born to scare. Impatient within my block, and I knew I was up against some of the greatest men, so competition is gonna be thrilling. I'm getting nervous, and I start shaking. My goal is to reach the walls that have never been broken. My goal is to reach the end. My mind is determined. My tails are swagging, and I can't wait to begin. Then, at a sudden burst, about 15 inches per second, I shot out the starter's block as I wish myself good luck. Friday, how about don't stop if I knock you up? That's it. I'm in, and I'm swimming. Swimming this little fish and fighting the waves of a deep blue ocean. Multi-millions who make this swim. I knew I was just one person. The person I knew is from life. The person I knew is from my life. So I keep swimming. And at this point, I'm backpedaling, backstroking very much so, hoping I win. And at some point, with the floating tubes, there's an episode of 42. I thought I was through. So I began to sing songs like, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, swimming. What do we do? Just keep swimming, swim for life. Don't do that, no, there's an end. There'll be nothing left to keep complaining. Hell, when I was with it, I knew I was going to be here for a reason. I got to survive, swim past the spermicide, crack this egg, and fertilize. There will not be two swims on fertilized egg. No ties, no twins. I'm taking it. I'm going to be that seed that prevents the next period. I'm going to be that nut that makes you go nuts. Because in life, on accident, I'm going to be that person that say, oh, shit, I'm pregnant. So what do? I keep swimming and swimming for life. That's what I'm doing. I know when I get there, there will not be anything in life that will make me feel like anything is any problem. Life is the greatest gift. God damn, I feel blessed. Because, made it. You did. And you made it. And you did. And Seth made it. Be grateful for life, y'all. My name is Jimmy. We travel all over the country. Actually, you'll see one of my really good friends and co-worker, Andre Grapp, here in a second. And so yeah, we travel a lot. And a lot of traveling, well, before COVID. We don't travel no. Nowadays, we open a laptop and like, go in, so cool, close. And check please. But yeah, I miss the traveling. Look, I miss this connection. So thank y'all for being here, spending time with us. Love it, appreciate it. Thank you so much. Speaking of traveling, so back in the days when we did, we used to always have this problem when it came back to, let's say, touching ground. You know, catching up with friends, catching up with homework, things to do, projects, bills, bill collectors. And when I realized that I hate when people waste my time. It's not if you hate when people waste your time. It's not a thing for you. I don't know who can relate to that. Okay, cool. And so when I started doing, for instance, if I was put on hold, I would, get upset, frustrated, like, dude, it's been like 12 minutes, 17 minutes, like, what are you doing? And I realized that your life is short. So what I do now is just have fun with it. So instead of getting upset, frustrated, what I do now is just wasting their time. When they come back, you'll get hold. So they'll be like, oh, yeah, Mr. Marlon, you still there? I'm like, yeah, yes I am. Oh, can you give that confirmation number again? Well, yeah, give me a second. Yeah, write it down on a sheet of paper. One second, right? You still there? Okay, good. Okay. Oh, found it. Sorry, it's in a small pocket. Got it. Okay. Sorry, there's a lot of folds in the sheet of paper. 1 second, babe. It's coming at you. Okay. All right, but you ready? Okay. All right. Okay. All right, so my confirmation number is 874. The letter J as in jalapeno. Yeah, J. Jalapeno. Yeah. And then I got G as in gnome. No G. Gnome. This is a fun word to say, isn't it? No. Yeah. And then I got 371. That's the longest number ever. Yeah. 1. Yeah, 371. Yeah, there it is. And then I got S as in C. No, S as in, no, not C, S as in C. No, S as in C. As in C. Seasoner, is that one too? Yes, yeah, that works, yeah. And then I got T as in tsunami. No, T. Tsunami. Yeah. There it is. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, T. And then I had, why are you getting so upset, man? You seem a little frustrated. Just 17 more minutes. And then I got P as in pneumonia. No, P. Pneumonia. Yeah, I'm getting sick of this too. No, Y is a W. No, Y is it? W is in Y. W is in Y. Yes, W, Y. Yeah. And then I got Y as in U. No, first it's W, and then I got Y as in U. Yeah. Well, okay, there it is. Okay, and then I got sorry, last one, but next one is P is in pterodactyl. No P. No, not T. P. No, not P. T. P is in pterodactyl. Pterodactyl, sir. Yeah, that's it. Oh wait, hold on. You went my confirmation number. That was the account number. Give me 1 second. Down the sheet of paper somewhere. Oh, that's not time when I was doing. It's so fun, guys. I love doing that, especially with their foreign. It's like English is the worst language to learn, from what I'm understanding. But I don't know if you're one, yes, someone. But yeah, it's I'm not sure if I'm not. It's so fun. I'm gonna switch gears here a little bit, and actually now, and tell you some real shit. You know, it's my life, so you get to hear it. In the 2 weeks went sober, we drank coffee, we cleaned the house, went to Uncle's office together. Growing up, the local cops knew our names. Fighting it off in our family. It was our religion. Every month at a sacrifice, my father took a pop to his head and laid the drunk man out. The sirens, the tears, the 8 classes, the court hearings, evictions never changed much. There were times I could beat him sober for days, but never thought I would just know him beyond the alcoholic who only came around a basketball game screaming, "That's my boy!" My father lay passed out in the neighbor's yard. A lawn ornament within itself to beat my father, the drunk. We fought toe to toe and knuckle to knuckle. And after 20 years of it, I started working things out. I tried to understand why my father had so much anger released at the twist of the cap. For 3 years, I didn't sue another man. Until this morning. A loud thump off the wall. A jaw hung open. My mother lay out across the floor, the pain breaking her face. I remember a time he brought her to his knees, his hands locked on her arm like the jaws of a pit bull, so that any dog owner, I chopped in the throat. No air, no power. I bring back to the moment as my father stands in a dim kitchen light with liquid splashing behind his yellow eyes. How can you push like that? Your own wife, my mother. I flashed again to the day he punches her, shits the floor. My brothers and I flopped around mine like birds do when the nest falls from his tree, praying she wake up. I breathe back to his mother, back into his yellow eyes, and jab. I push down to the midsection. His airbag is empty. He swings back. The bell's rung. We're at it again. Mother cheers me on. His bottom lip is open. Blood straining drool is in the catch of his tongue. Damn, I'll kill you. I hear the crowd going wild as I shift on his 50 swings beneath the sternum. His body falls limp, but there's no earthquake to stop me. And I'm in love with the sound of never-sticking flesh. The aching beauty of a cue ball cracking the rap at the break. You like that? I like that. The Dicks were holding 25 years of fucked up child in my fist. His tattered body laid and had no bones left. I kicked it, I stomped it, about the head of the refrigerator, more concerned about the door than the head that dented it. My mother is crying again. At the sink, I loosen my knuckles. I watch my empty fear, my dignity swirl towards the mouth of the basin. I drag what was left my father into the empty hallway. Outside, I am greeted by a lovely custodian lady who can never say my name right. Hello, Ivy. How are you? I smile. I'm fine. It took me a long time to share that poem. I wrote it, it was my roommate found it and said, "Why don't you read this?" I was like, "This is too personal, it's too painful. It's, I don't know. And the first time I read it, I couldn't get through it. The second time, I couldn't get through it. Third time, it took me a while to kind of actually get through that poem. And sharing that poem, I realized how many more people deal with domestic violence or fighting or anger or holding in pain and all that stuff. And it became therapeutic. It became something that I found healing. My father and I are really good friends, by the way, now. We're Facebook friends. But the weird thing, he has 18 profiles because he didn't remember his password. So I need to figure out which father I'm talking to. Which one? When's the last time he sent me a message? Okay. Hey, Dad, how are you? 2 days later. Oh, hey, son. It's interesting how that's the site as the code of his profiles. I'm gonna wrap it with another personal poem to me. This is a very, very, very good friend of mine who's gonna help me do this poem. If you have let's say, imagine your favorite role model growing up. I don't care if it's Teletubbies, Ninja Turtles, or Superman, whatever it is, your mama or your dad, whatever it is, your person that you love the most. Put your hands together, clap, do snap, whatever you gotta do to let them feel welcome. Give it up for Andre Bradley, ladies and gentlemen. Nice to meet you, Charlie. So we'll do the little stuffy thing. You wanna talk about this poem, or are we gonna just do it?
Yeah, it's sad. It's a real sad poem.
More tears, guys.
It's also a very necessary poem. Iggy and I both dealt with and have known people that have succumbed to suicide, and so we wrote this poem in response to that.
Is that high enough for you? Traffic signs kind of suck.
Usually only seen after it's too late to do anything about it.
Warning, but construction 1,000 feet ahead.
Yeah, after I spent the last 2 hours sitting in traffic due to said construction.
Or that one random deer sign.
That looks way more like an advertisement for majestic deer.
Then watch out, a deer
May decide your car needs a new
body
body
kit.
Or that sign that just says, bump.
Not slow down, but bumps ahead.
Not on level road ahead, proceed with caution, just bump. And by the time you figure out what bump means,
You're airborne thinking, damn, I just got my wheel alignment done.
these signs can be incredibly unhelpful. But some signs, if gone unnoticed, can be life-threatening. I remember staring at my steering wheel.
Signs are only used before they're needed.
Hands at 10 and too far gone.
Caution, proceed with care. The concrete I'm made of might falter.
Wondering at what speed I'd be able to make these memories stop chasing.
Everything is a breaking point.
As I repeated, I can't do this anymore.
Crystal burst pipes.
I can't do this anymore.
But strong
I just can't do this anymore.
Diamond out of cold dust or
Create a black hole.
impressions of pain are usually written on warning signs no one else can read.
Tears racing down my cheeks as giving up living raced through my
I
mind.
wish whiteness could only do so much in a hurricane.
I wouldn't want you to know anyway. So I told my story to things I wouldn't ask questions.
34 matches.
To an empty parking lot. To no one or someone.
Who would take a professional as a comedy routine.
What they don't tell you about depression is that most of us won't call it that. So deal with it by pretending it isn't eroding you away. Warning signs sometimes look like I'm okay.
I'm not okay.
Just
I've been
tired.
crying myself to sleep.
Just been busy
I
lately.
keep my feet moving so my pain won't catch up to me.
Because when my mind idles, I will stall out. Emotions, flooding engines, preventing me from changing gears.
And I cannot be inconvenienced to anyone else.
So I compartmentalize my pain.
Don't piss me. I don't want you to see on my backseat positions of I'm fine.
Taking a one-way trip to gone. I'm trying to outrun the old model of me.
Or afraid to look in the rearview mirror, fearing I won't see happiness again.
What they don't tell you about depression is that it follows you. And I drove halfway across the country
Left blinker flashing, and I'm unaware.
to find my depression waiting for me.
Just drive, Iggy. Ignore the flashing, making signs. Drive to a city with so many people.
You can't help feeling lonely. I was alone in a clown car of an apartment,
staring at a bottle of codeine like if I could just get to the bottom of it, I'd find peace, so I downed it. All. Exhaling as it started numbing the pieces of me full of broken edges. Living was more than I could cope with, so I decided to see what death was like. But as my will finally broke, my body refused to let me go. I lived on accident. Until I began to do it on purpose.
Bear with me. Bear with the time I spent 8 months living in my car. When your closet is trunk with Oldsmobile, every road has a fork full of fear. I am empty, on the wrong turn on a dead end. I cry at night. But only after the parking brake is put on, startled after the headlights flash in my direction, wake up to recall how inadequate I am. I tell no one. Don't be scared, Iggy. Tomorrow, you'll find a better place to park, a better place to break down.
What they don't tell you about depression is that it never fully goes away. You just learn to read the signs.
You learn to fight back.
By recognizing when it's trying to drive from the passenger
So you
seat.
put your seatbelt on.
By telling friends, I've been thinking about crashing
By
lately.
saying I'm not fine,
And that's okay. By reminding yourself that even though it is a part of you, you are not your depression. You are not your depression. You are not depression. It's just part of you. But you know how to read the warning signs now. Thank you.
There's a good friend of mine. We played pool together. She lived with me for about 8 months. But it sucked at that time because I was doing Airbnb. And I had to call her. Hey, I just booked another one. You got an hour. Hey, I got one. You leave tonight. Hey, I'm booked for 3 days. She had nowhere to go. And the reason why I invited her to come to my place is because she found an abandoned, trailer. It's an abandoned trailer in the back of someone's maybe 3-acre yard. And I found out about her living in it. No water, no nothing. She just slept there. Beautiful person, beautiful soul. And that's why I invited her to come. Anytime my door is open, you can have it. Anything in the house is yours. 2 nights ago, she killed herself. And didn't know it. Didn't see it coming. And that's usually the story, right? You just don't know what people are going through. You just see it, and then you feel it at the end. I guess I share that poem, or we share that poem throughout the country, and I share it with you guys tonight. If you're going through anything, something, let someone know. Let someone know. Because the worst part about all this is we don't know that we're all going through a struggle. We all are. And we think at some point we're the only ones going through a struggle, and that's where it becomes spiraling of a detrimental, negative monologue in your head that creates this idea of I'm sad, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm stressed. Worst case being suicide. How you deal with it does not have to be on your own. Please, if you know anyone or even question anyone that's going through something, just reach out. A text, a hug, a high five, even just sharing a story. Hey, remember that one time? You can probably buy that person another week, another month, or another year, or another a longer life. So I'm gonna stop with that, and I want to thank you guys so much for being a part of this event. We're not done. We got more acts and people coming up here. I did want to end on a low note for a reason, because I want this to sit. comedy, I can do more poems, but I want us to sit. And I'm gonna start or end with this idea. If you don't mind, repeat after me. Sometimes I'm not okay.
Sometimes I'm not okay.
Sometimes I'm not okay.
Sometimes I'm not okay.
I'm not okay.
I'm not okay.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
I want to make sure that all of y'all know that all the poets here are going to be accessible afterwards, so please, when you find your favorite poet of the evening, please make sure and hit us up afterwards. Take selfies with us. Get our information, get our Instagrams. I'll tell you what. Does anyone here know who the most famous poet in America is right now? Anybody know the most famous living poet in America right now? Yeah, nobody else does either. That's the problem with poetry! So please, give everyone their moment of rock star. If you really love the shit out of them, make sure to get their info. Take some selfies with them. Have a great time. So please, A, put your hands together for both Tom and Iggy. So, one of my favorite poems that Iggy did was up here with that duet. Was that sick or what, right? So, it's about depression. Now, I'm going to pick a completely random audience member, you, sir, who I don't know, named Andreas. So, I want you to pick a letter that begins the word depression. Think real hard. It's okay, we'll give you a second. The word depression starts with what letter? D! Oh my God! Such a random decision.
Think of a country next.
So I want you to think of a country that starts with that letter.
Maybe Denmark.
Maybe just any random country.
You are ruining it.
Shut up! I'm trying to work. So excuse me.
Do it properly.
If I can focus here, I'm trying to work here. Okay, now next.
Think of an animal.
I want you to think of an animal.
A really big
A
one.
big one, a big one. A big animal that starts with the letter E.
Can you think of a whale, or does it have to be a
No,
living?
just the letter E. Okay, now I want you to think of what color.
Get off the stage, we're frauds.
I know what I'm doing. Shut the hell up.
Well, I know there are no gray elephants in Denmark.
There are tons of gray elephants in Denmark.
Everybody knows that. You should be able to pick it up on the back of like.
I tell you what, look, man. If you want to sit in the back and Apple, if you think you can come up here and entertain an audience just like that, why don't you just come up here and do it?
But unfortunately, I didn't come prepared. I don't have a deck of cards or anything to do.
Oh no, son! I have a deck of cards on me right here. So why don't you come up here, Mr. Fancy Pants? Think you can just come up and entertain an audience?
Let's see.
Oh no, y'all, come on. Put your hands together. Hands back on the audience. All right, sucker. You think you can come up here and make it look easy? Here's deck cards. Make it look easy.
You know what? So get someone.
Random person.
Random volunteer.
Pick my friend Caitlin right there. Y'all put your hands together for Caitlin. Come on up, Caitlin.
Hey, very good to meet you. How are you doing? Friends right here in the middle seat. Hey, do you like magic? Yeah. Do you like tricks that don't involve old, Denmark?
Sure.
Do you like tricks?
Yes, I love her.
Fantastic. You picked the right person. You did something correctly tonight.
Oh, well, if I got one, I'm good.
Alright, so it's gonna be real simple. I'm just gonna shuffle this deck, and I'm gonna have you think of a card. Not your favorite card, because that's probably gonna be the Queen of Hearts or something like that. Instead, it's going to be a more or less random card. So how we're gonna do that is I'm just going to go like that, and and you tell me to stop whenever you like.
Okay.
Ready?
Stop.
Right there.
Yes.
Take that card. Don't let me see it. Don't let anybody see it. And then, tell you what, yeah, let this guy see it. You got it? I saw it. All right. Just coming on this side. What I'm going to do is, I want you to look at the back of the theater.
Okay.
Don't focus on everybody in the audience. I know it's weird, center stage.
Back or back?
Back, very back.
Okay.
Focus as far back as you can. Imagine there's a movie theater. Imagine that you're watching a movie. Now think about your card. If you're thinking of a red card, imagine a sunset. If you're thinking of a black card, imagine the night sky. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see this from here, but the first thing is this was obviously a red card. Am I correct?
Nope.
No. Okay. No. Just give me a favor. Say spades and diamonds. Spades and diamonds. Oh.
Oh, I thought it was the original card I was thinking. Oh, okay.
So it was a red card. Okay, stop hoping you're making things worse. So it was a red card. Okay. Don't say it out loud. Just say in your mind, number or picture. So picture is going to be your court cards, your jacking, and queen. Numbers are going to be right there when I said numbers for eyes flicker away. You're getting a court card, correct?
Yes.
So that narrows it down to hearts and diamonds, I believe.
Okay. Yes.
It's going to be a heart, I believe. And you have the card on hand?
No, I got
All right,
two.
right to the microphone. And if I get your card correct, I want you to say, this guy's way better as magic.
Okay.
I believe her card is the Queen of Diamonds.
What was I supposed to say?
Hey, well, this guy's good at magic.
Oh, yeah,
he's
he's really good.
diamond right back in stage, man. That's what it was.
That's
The Queen of Diamonds. Holy shit, I did it right here. That was our card.
Yeah.
Was it not?
Yeah.
Yeah, show the audience. Yeah, this guy's apparently good at magic. Fuck you, asshole. Sure, I guess I have a seat. All right, does anybody else want to come up here and make me look like an asshole in the middle of my own show? All right, well, put your hands together for the other king of the scene, one of the baddest motherfuckers from here to Toledo. Y'all put your hands together and get crazy for Mr. Motherfucking Christopher Michael!
I want to begin by giving God the glory for gracing me with the gift of people preparing to ride around and let see my line what I feel from time to time. Giving praise and omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent Father for placing me in power of speech, command, and spoken word, allowing you to enjoy the things you've heard. And finally, I want to thank the Father for firmly fixing me in the foundation of his love and favor and placing on my tongue a most delightful flavor because the typical tongue tends to try trying to translate the thoughts of the verse twixt my temples. Poems are poetically powerful, they pop pebbles. Dialogues are delightfully dynamic and even simple to simple. Cautiously, I creep to the ground, quietly contemplating reports and captivating collective time. So I can concoct, come up with new colorful communication creations so complicated, they cause a crime near cranial convulsion. Sending cerebral signals song with metaphoric messages to membranes, making your salivation no end until eventually, you know you just won't be right before stairs and say, yo, read that last line one more again. I'm feeling the fact. I'm feeling the fact that the Father forwards a feminine figure to free fellas from frustration, but the temptation to touch these tantalizing tart starts my stomach doing stunts. I can't stand it. I can't negate these nasty narrations, these naughty notations that navigate my neurons. Her body's to blame, like moth to the flame. My mind migrates to the marriage of this minty, magnificent, mobile complexion. Her physical perfection demands my affection. Behold this beauty that bounds by my eye. My Danish Drago. Shit. My bane is Brock. My brain is bothered by the boundary of her breast. I'm blessed just to be by her. It's a boundary for brick. Her breasts were enough you wouldn't believe the bricks you could bounce off her booty. Pure beauty. Like I'm serious about the sexiness of this sultry cider, even her sweat is sweet. I think if I think another thought about those thick thighs, oh mama, why she's so fly? This hormone high as hell of my health hits. Highlighted by heaven's hands, and have you seen her hair? Even her hands are heavily nebulating. My heart's gonna halt. I can't handle this. Oh, Gail, have you seen her toenails? Perfectly painted. First time I saw them, damn near fainted. Even the way she licks her luscious lips leaves you longing to love her right. She's tight, she's fight to spend one night loving her right. This cutie had the kind of curves a classic Corvette couldn't corner. So I stepped to her to offer her my opulent oration, and she offered me her hand. And in response to this complete and utter rudeness, I said, "My apologies, ma'am. I didn't mean to disturb you. Please have a nice day." Brothers, fellas, men, every smile is not an invitation. Let her walk the streets in peace. I am Christopher Michael. I'm a completely ego-driven poet, so if you're not applauding and responding as I do the poems, I will stop and go home. Because that lets me know you're not really enjoying it, okay? Any Star Trek fans in the room? Okay, good. No, I'm like old school Star Trek. Okay, so the rest of you just get on your phones and no, don't get your phones, that's rude as hell. Just think to yourselves, and the rest of you, this poem is for you. I would like to offer this poem to Michelle Nichols, Gene Roddenberry, Majel Roddenberry, DeForest Kelly, Leonard Nimoy, and everyone who made my childhood worth living. It's a love poem. You are the brightest light in my sky. You got me starstruck, so I'm on Star Trek. Can we be the original series and pave the way for the next generation? I want to be your galaxy quest. I want to get lost in your space. I want to be a Voyager. Let me get deep space with my 9. It's more like 6, but it's thick. Resistance is futile. My tractor beam is too strong for you to avoid. Relax. Feel the love like Betazoids. I'm going to get to your heart through your mind like Vulcan mind meld so I can see behind your eyes. Then, I'm going to plot a course for those thighs. Engage. Girl, I hope you got that killer cat because I got more lives than the Enterprise. And don't worry, I'm going to take my time. The warp factor won't matter because all you're going to feel is the pulse from my impulse engines as my tongue sets up orbit around every orifice. I'm going to do a hands-on survey till your heavenly body's been completely mapped. So sit back. This may take a while. Open hailing frequencies. Hailing frequencies open, sir. This is Captain Silky of the USO Smooth Federation flagship NC-1769. Glory of the Flecker Shields. I come in peace. I want to make first contact. Prepare to be boarded. I'm beaming over. Ooh. I love the way you smell. I haven't been this intoxicated since that last Christmas party after those shots around in hell. Set face of stun, I'm about to put that ass to sleep tonight. I'm about to boldly do what no man has done before. Give me your panties, girl. Shh, shh, open your door. My mission is to explore. Yeah. I recommend using the full-time torpedo. It is ready and set for maximum yield. I know it's a logical spot, but my tongue won't stop until I taste her G-spot. Captain, receiving transmission. Put it through. Captain, don't stop. Give me more. Girl, you know I'm gonna stop till your moans for more turns up. Captain, she can't take much more than she's waking up. I'll give you a holiday. Your dream world. Don't worry about waking up. Slave girls. Don't worry about them. Green is just left for those to envy. It's just you and me, Captain. Receiving data now. Analysis. There appears to be a highly concentrated wave of orgasmic energy radiating from the cervical area, and it's headed straight for us. Quick! Load the full-time torpedo and don't fire till I give the signal. Wait for it. Wait for it. Fire! Make you laugh and feel good. It's enough of that. I was told that Seth is looking for veterans, so I loaded my veteran poem. Oh, any veterans in the room? All right. So this poem is for the two of you, and for everybody else to know what the fuck is going on. Haiku. Veterans. Haiku. Soldiers don't leave the battlefield. They carry it home on their backs.
I am the camel's back. 3 straws beyond my breaking point, attempting to voice my silence into spoken word, I have a scar. The aftermath of wounds, X marks the spot, the treasure being the knowledge that your body beat back the invader. But what do you do when you can't find the wound or see the scar? Not all wounds can be marked or cared for by the loving adhesive embrace of a Band-Aid. The military doesn't break everyone, but it usually leaves a scar somewhere. We soldiers, we sacrifice our civil rights like freedom of speech and doing as we please. We all have our own personal reasons, but the irony is we do it dying, defending, fighting for your freedoms. In exchange, we gain goods and opportunities, but neither the recruiter nor the contract convey the complexity of the price we would pay. So now I'm trying to raise my voice above a whisper, unable to yell past unidentified anguish. Politicians may pull us puppets from the theater of their war, but the battle in our soul wages on. Fighting concepts like survivor's guilt, an oxymoron. Some of us drink to drown the damage we cannot find. We fill the emptiness with smoke, coke, and wine, trying to stifle the subtle siren of fallen friends. Our sanity is the front line. We are grenades, ready to come home. We're locked, loaded, still doing what we were trained to do. Sometimes family gets caught in the crosshairs. We're not monsters. We're mortars, landmines, M16s. Somebody forgot to remove the firing pin. Some of us escaped the job of living, painting our own pink slips on walls, brushstroked by bullets, revolved, chambered, and swallowed. Because it's got to be better than the pills the VA pushes. Unable to push past the pain, war always leaves a stain, and not all of us can sustain past the imperceptible pain. I want to talk, but it hurts. Physically. Like fist gripped sternum, cardiac clutched, crushed if I dare to conversate what I've seen. It's like my pain is classified and nobody has clearance. If I dare to speak, anxiety attacks like snipers and IEDs. I want to talk, but it hurts. And I know there's somebody willing to listen, but it hurts. I wonder what would happen if I run my car into this tree. Will it hurt? So we eat pills or shotguns because the memories we swallowed have soured our stomachs. So Lexa and Prozac protect us like seatbelts, Kevlar and blankets, keeping us restrained, untouchable, and it feels good in here. And I like not giving a damn. And it bothers me that I don't give a damn. But I don't really give a damn. Because without it, I am the camel's back. 3 straws beyond my breaking point, and if I don't keep the carnage chemically contained and bottle the pain, it will spill all over everyone I love. And unlike them, I signed up for this shit. I don't regret my time in the military because I leveraged it into a lot of money. But there are some amounts of money that I get because I was in the military that I happily give back to behold again. Your freedom, by no means, is free. Everything costs something. It's costing somebody's life, limb, or their mental well-being. Just keep that in mind. That don't mean to be sad about the shit. That means go live your fucking life. Be free and let others be free. Because somebody died for their right to be free. Make sense? Yeah. All right, let's move on. All right. Okay, so this is based on a true story. So because I'm black, some of my poems are black. And they talk about my black experience. So you're gonna hear about my black experience. And this is based on a true story. Woo! Any Honda drivers in here? No Honda drivers? Honda drivers? Any souped up race car, like you bought the car and put some shit in it that wasn't supposed to be in there so your car would be faster? Nobody will do it. Any year. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I had a Honda, a 2000 Honda Civic, and I had a truck engine put in it. Actually, it was called a Frankenstein engine because half of it was from an Integra. The other half was from a Honda. What was the truck?
CRV.
CRV. It was from a CRV, and then there was another damn computer program in there to make it up. Yeah. So, it probably got me in a lot of trouble and a lot of experiences. I have the blood of a Formula One racer coursing through my veins. My Honda Civic with a modified truck engine was fast and furious. Cannonball runs through my DNA. I mean, I frequently view speed limits as suggestions for drivers with weaker skills. $100 speeding fine, I'll pay it tomorrow, turns failure to appear, suspended license, and warrants, all of which can be deadly when living in a world where fetus seem to have more right to life than a fully formed black man. At first, I didn't even know it was the police. His lights were so bright and white, they outshine the colored ones, desperately trying to they matter too. I succumbed to the siren assault shelter on the side of the highway shoulder. Determined not to be the color palette this cop used to paint the streets with, I armed myself with the necessary legal documentation. Insurance card locked and loaded. Driver's license in the ready position, hands fully visible because I wanted him to see it coming. This ain't no Western. Cowboy quick moves are often concluded with coroner calls and gases. He steps out of his cruiser and sashays to my car. No. He spills out of his tank and tsunamis to the front line. No. He nightmares out of my dreams and Freddy Krueger's his way to my reality. And I don't want to be confused as Mexican. I mean, with Mexican culture, I didn't want to be his officer's piñata. So I shucks, I jive, I smiled, I yes sir. I was polite and respectful with all the manners my mama and the military taught me. I wasn't raised in beware killer cops culture. My respect for authority is the right thing to do. It wasn't given to me by the matriarchs as a survival skill. We weren't worried about getting killed. Fear 5-0 was actually fear of mama. Come home in the squad car if you want to. We, the rambunctious rascals, neighborhood knuckleheads, thugs before thug meant nigga, would purposely trip alarms and 911 ourselves and play hide and go seek with the police because we were stupid, stun guns were science fiction, and Tamir Rice hadn't been born yet. I've been a human for almost 50 years, and a nurse for more than 20. A man in scrubs is as frail and fallible as a man in blue. But we have the power of life and death. We are here to serve you. We are not authorized bad days and mistakes. Survival should not be predicated on politeness, suspicious behavior. I suspect I'm pissed because you pulled me over instead of that little old lady that sped by me at 90. I suspect I'm terrified because you rolled my ass till I made a ticketable mistake. I suspect you might be friends with the man that didn't like the bland taste of Sandra's attitude. And once again, I find myself the victim of another police execution of his lawful duties. He got it right. I was in the wrong. So I was blessed enough to add him to a pathetically long list of police officers who allowed me to walk away. No. Drive away. No. Live that day. I am from Texas, where we have a right to open carry. The problem with open carry is it makes you retarded. And by open carry, I mean the melanin loaded in the chambers of my skin. Woo! Yeah. But first, I want to hit you with some haikus. Y'all can follow me at Mr. Mike 310 on all the social medias. And haiku, short Japanese poem consisting of 17 syllables, 575, usually about nature, seasons. But here in America, where we incorporate bastardize everything, it's just 17 syllables. Give or take. Beautiful redhead. Any redheads in the room? Nope. Okay. Nobody can do that. That's beautiful. Oh, all right, got you. Beautiful redhead falls off his bike and breaks leg. That's a ginger snap. Any children in the room? Okay. How old?
20.
Oh, yeah.
Does she look like a baby?
No, 28-year baby. Told her to give me back everything I gave her, so she gave me some dick. Because the guy who is about not working today, that's all it is. That's all we're trying to say. Okay, where are my nerds at? The comic book nerds? Okay, here we go. I blame the X-Man Cyclops. He's the reason him and Wolverine can't see eye to eye. Turn to your neighbor and say, wiped your ass and then purposely or inadvertently took a whiff of the tissue or your finger and then broke through the paper, and when you did, it reminded you of someone's breath. Your mouth smells like God is forsaking you. Your breath smells like the stable where the 4 horsemen of your apocalypse keep their mares. At night, your mouth is a nightmare. I have nightmares of your lips parting in slow motion. In the background, I hear Sarah McLaughlin singing in the arms of an angel. You know, Satan was an angel. Imagine the teeth of those sad-ass dogs that need to be rescued from a bad situation. I want to tell you this to your face, but I can't get close enough to your face to tell you this, and I dare not text. Because you might respond with talk to text and to convert your breath to something that requires the gouging out of my eyes. I bet Siri won't even let you get close enough to ask her for directions. I don't know. Lacking the courage to confront your cacophony of sense, it doesn't make sense where every sentence from your close-talking ass makes me feel like I've been wrongfully convicted, a life sentence of closely talking to someone's ass. Your mouth smells like Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island, and Fukushima. You're fucking up the ecosystem. I should be able to smell your breath. When you're walking behind me, your mouth closes, come to your nose, are your factory bugs burn out? Are your nostrils in denial? You don't have halitosis, you have, the hell does government leave behind in this? Okay. It could be the cottonmouth caused by the continuous consumption of cannabis files. It is a drug. There are side effects. Smoking THC, they have a chemical, reduces the production of saliva, and you need spit to rinse the shit-pooping bacteria off your teeth. Okay. It could be something like poor dental hygiene, medication you're on, metabolic disorder, gastric reflux, or every time you walk in a room, a fairy shits on my lip. I know you think it's cool, but it's nothing compared to the terroristic threat of toxic tongue exposure. I hear your mouth is on the government watch list. I hear Kim Jong-un is trying to recreate the vapors. If your mouth was water, I'd vote for closure. I would pay for the wall. Your breath smells like a rigged election. Your breath smells like a band of Muslims from countries that didn't do shit to us. Your breath smells like a stench of feminism when it left behind black women. Ooh. Your breath smells like the aroma of gunpowder on the hands of a man who just made a fucked up decision. Your breath smells like oil, dirty water, fracking and earthquakes. Your breath smells like the stench of water from the taps of Flint, Michigan. Your breath smells like a dead boy with a BB gun. Your breath smells like a knee on the neck. Your breath smells like men making legislations about women's wombs. Your breath is oppressive. And not like white oppression. Because not even white supremacy has ever done doo-doo to be so harshly labeled with the likes of you. Hey, y'all thought that shit was gonna be funny, and then it took a turn. it wasn't supposed to do that. Like I was in the shower, and I suddenly realized, oh, I know what it is. Their breath smells like this because there's a lot of people in my community who smoke weed, and I have no problem with weed, but they don't understand the consequences of smoking weed and dry ass mouth, and then they hide shit, and then they come talk all over their face, and their mouth is dry, and everything that can grow in their mouth is growing because their normal flora has been fucking killed, and then they don't even know what's happening, and you're like, you're choking like that, choke, they got you smoking. I'm sorry, let me get off my soapbox. I'm just saying, just rinse your mouth out, take a minute, chew some gum. And even if it's old gum and it tastes funny, like tear that shit in half and share it with a friend, just eat the gum. So we ain't got to suffer. And floss, get the black. I'm sorry. This is a really dramatic experience for me. Okay, last poem of the night. If you've ever written a poem, if you think you might ever want to write a poem, if you are currently a poet, just raise your hand in there. There we go. All right. I said ever. Thank you. All right. This poem is for you. Dear poet, as much as you make your poems about you, they never will be. They will always be about the effect they have on the hearer. Be careful, because you can make the listener the doer of your words. You are the correspondent of this community, so speak truth. And when the Father forces you to function in the favor He speaks you in, fantastic fortune follows and falls at your feet. Speak, and a sea of similes will set sail from the shore of your tongue. The almighty mother of life will move mountains of metaphors out of your mouth in moments you don't even know you're prepared for. You will turn post-traumatic stress disorder to poems that stop death, because poets turn struggle into dreams. Realize, no, that PTSD are just more letters for you to ladder your way to possibilities, transcending suicide, domestic violence, and people's toxic self-destruction. You will be able to marry Poppins' pain and truth into a spoonful of sugar. People will listen to you when they build walls along the borders of their heart. You will open doors when you shine in your rhymes. You're writing what Harriet Tubman summoned to freedom. Your mouth or Michelle Obama someone's backbone. Your experience, your vision, your art, your heart will Oprah Winfrey in front of millions. Your success will Macy Jemison out of this world. Gravity will not contain you, but you will. Nikki Giovanni bind your words into books. And after you, Angela Davis, the next revolution, children will speak your name. Study your words and recite your work. Your voice will command attention. Your presence will grab the spotlight, but it will never be about you. So don't you dare dim your pen don't you dare dim your pen or your muse for no man or woman, not the last X or the next. You are blessed. Purge your pain on page and leave it for the world to learn from your mistakes. You don't know what hurricane the reader needs to be sheltered from. Be the warning and the calm after the storm. If life and death is in the power of the tongue, then you, brilliant human, are a weaponized wordsmith with the velvet voice of God, spoke the universe into existence, then you are an architect, a construction worker, a bulldozer, a wrecking ball, a jackhammer, a glue gun, a bricklayer, a needle and thread, a gardener, a god in the earth, and you can manifest anything that you can shape with your mouth. But do not take this power lightly. The tongue is a double-edged sword, more powerful than Excalibur. The sword of omens, a blazing sword, a spear in the side of the Messiah, a fat man, a little boy, a badge and a gun, an infinity gauntlet, or any other fantastic weapon the human mind can manifest, fact or fantasy. But this be a burden. So before you dabble in this art, know that creation is God work, and true poets wield words with the weight of the universe. Now go write something, poet. I dare you. I am Christopher Michael.
So I'll tell you what, I am so proud and thank you so much to all my friends who came out here to support this show tonight. And more especially than everyone, as much as I love all of you attendees, I am so grateful to my performers tonight. Y'all, please put your hands together. So, we had someone in the audience who came up here and did a little something. I will admit that they may be put my foot in my mouth. I will admit I was at least somewhat semi-entertained. And since it is the Scottish Rite Theater, I feel like a little bit of magic in the air is the appropriate mystique for the night. So, one time is freaking awesome, but, are you a one-trick pony, Mr. Magic Hat Man, or do you feel like if I just threw you on the spot, you could come to well me away again? Yeah? You got this? Come on up. Y'all put your hands together for Mr. Magic Man in the hat. So, allow me to ask you, Sir Captain Asshole of the Crowd, what is your name?
Well, my name is Charles Moorhead. I am a local magician specializing in mind reading and psychic phenomena.
So this is the thing that you do here in Austin, aside from just showing up and being an asshole of
I predominantly do that because I found that's the best way to actually get digits.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna already away on stage, I will let you know that I think at least 2 people in the crowd almost whipped your ass on the way to the stage the first time, so I wanted to...
There was a little bit of a thing in the back.
Thank you. Thank y'all all for that also. Thank you for that. You know, so, I would love to see something else if you got. Do you need someone for the stage? Can I help you?
Sure, but before that, I just want to follow what you said earlier. And once again, I don't know about y'all. I've been loving every performer up here. I've been loving everything out of the mouth and of the heart. And just one more applause for all of our amazing poets tonight.
So actually, a little applause for me. See that? That's how that works.
So as I said, one of the things I do is what we would consider magic of the mind. And one of the things that's actually connected with poetry, I believe, this is my personal belief, that it's not so much about telepathy as it is about empathy. I believe that we all have shared experiences, we all have lives that on the surface may look so different, but when you talk to people, when you get to know them, when you spend time with them, you realize the things we struggle with are more familiar with everyone, and it's not as unique as we'd like it to be. Coincidentally, in the same way, the things that we aspire to tend to be connected as well. So I'd like to try a test of connection, and I cannot say this will work 100%, but I do think that if we work with people who are open and empathetic, we may see something that might bring us a little bit closer. So if you could find two people who would like to take part, I promise you I will not do anything to embarrass you or make fun of you, unless it's really, really funny. So there we go, we got one, come on.
Oh, there you go.
Very nice to meet you. Very nice to meet you. I'll have you, you stand right there facing the audience, and you, sir, you stand right here facing the audience. So, what I'd like you to do is, both of you, don't worry about the audience, just start to think of a memory, a happy memory, ideally. Someplace you start like to think of the name of a person, just the first name, the name of a person that you associate with a happy memory. And you, ma'am, I'd like you to think of the name of a place that you would associate with a happy memory. And lock both of these in your mind. And what I'm going to do is I have a couple of pieces of cards. I'm going to give you one, and I want you to just print the first name right there and hold it back up. And for you, and while he's doing that, same thing, I would like you to just print the place that you're thinking of. If it's someplace long, just shorten it out instead of going for I don't know places, but you get it. But yeah, just print that right there and fold it back up. And set, if you will, when they're finished, would you gather them up and make sure that I touch them at the moment. When both of them are finished, make sure they fold it up and gather them up. Very good. Now, in a moment, you're going to hand me one of them. And that's why I say this, I'm not going to try to work with both of you at the moment. I will try, but I'm going to go for one. So Seth, what I'd like you to do is to take any one of them you want. I want to be very clear about this as well. The one you hand me will be eliminated. It will not be the target. So whichever piece of card you'd like to hand me.
Which one should I give him? Should I give him the right?
No.
Should I give him the left?
Yeah.
And again, this is what we're eliminating. Now normally I would eliminate this by birdie. However, I won't do that in the theater at the moment, so
Thank you. Thank you.
we will tear this up. Okay, now where we stand, we have one target card. You both have thoughts in mind. I want you both, again, to stare at the back of the theater. Imagine there is a movie screen. Imagine you see your memory on that movie screen, and I will start to pick up as many thoughts as I can about this. And again, say nothing out loud, just go back into this memory. Is the color white. I don't know if this is you, and I don't know if this is you. I'm getting the color white, and I'm getting movements. White and movement are coming in clearly. I think there's also something about a bird. I don't know if that's making sense, but there's a bird involved.
I'm going to write down.
No, actually, I don't think it's that. White, I don't know if white makes sense, but just hold that out for a minute. I'm not going to touch it. I think this is the name. So if you just think the name over and over ahead in your mind, I don't know if the white makes sense with this, but this is a... Okay, the eye raise right there, I believe he's thinking of a name. And in this way, yes or no, just give me a little bit. And is this family or... No, okay, so it's not related. This is the name in total, you're thinking of the shortened version of a name. There is a longer version of a name, but I believe he's thinking of the shorter version. Okay? Hold your hand out flat. Up and the other way around, like table. Don't look just yet. I am committed at this point. This is the first and only time I will look to see how accurate I have got. Thank you again for joining us, even though we don't get your thing. Let's give her a round of applause. So I don't know if I was 100% right on this. I just shorted it. What was the name you were thinking of? Mike. Turn that over and read it out loud for everyone.
Sorry, yeah, that's 100, y'all. That's 100. Oh, good job, Mr. Charles Moorhead. Y'all give it up again. So speaking of magic, man, so the next performance coming up here, I had the honor and pleasure of being on a slam team with him back in 2010, 12 years ago, and this dude has been doing it long before and long since, just like every other poet you've seen up here. But this dude, one thing I always loved about him is he always did these funny poems. And a lot of us poets, we know that, like, let's be honest, when you're doing competitions, it's hard to get really good scores with funny poetry when you can go for the darkness. But this poet always said to me, he said, if I'm going up and I'm performing, if I'm going to give someone something serious, I need to make them laugh. I need to make them smile. I need to make them feel good. To remind people that no matter how dark the subject, there is still light in the world around us. And so I am so stoked to see this poet perform tonight. Please put your hands together for Austin Poetry Slam's legend, Mr. Danny Stratton.
Let's go!
So tall. Okay. Hi. I like to use the mic.
It's Danny Stratton.
This is water. It's not liquor. I know it looks like liquor, but it's water. Because I might need it. Anyway, I was thinking about like the poems I was going to do tonight, and were like the legends of Austin poetry. But Seth hadn't seen me perform in a long time, so I was thinking about poems that like he hadn't seen. So hopefully you won't have heard any of these. And if you have, I don't know. Andre might know some of these. Chris Michael certainly does, but hopefully the rest of y'all, they'll be new. I don't know. We'll see. First poem I got goes like this. The mad scientist experiments in her lab. Why was the scientist mad? Well, she spent 5 years working on her undergrad, listening to endless lectures on bioluminescence, epigenetics, and metabolism, falling asleep most nights face first into a textbook, only to graduate, then spend another 5 on her PhD, getting to know E. coli cultures up close and personally acting as an unpaid assistant to an ungrateful tenured professor more interested in advancing his own career than actually teaching anyone anything, ultimately leaving university over $50,000 in debt, which she worked her way out from under by climbing the corporate ladder through a glass ceiling, squinting into microscopes, ultimately promoted to stare at computer screens, now leading a team working to solve some of the deadliest diseases the human race faces today. She's one of about 8 million scientists around the world who got all that schooling and paid all that money and did all that work so that the rest of us wouldn't have to. And then a bunch of us decide we don't believe in science anymore, questioning the human contribution to climate change, claiming the vaccines they spent centuries developing actually cause autism, and now the climate is fucked, and we've been dealing with about a year before that, you can bet the scientist is mad. They're all mad. If you did all that work and spent all that money, and then a bunch of non-experts in your field claim to understand it better than you, you'd be pissed off too. The scientists are mad because the politicians are insane. Protected by armies of privilege and propaganda, the insane men in suits built a massive metaphorical microwave and aimed it back at the earth, threatening to turn it on unless we give them all the money in the world. But they've already turned it on, even as we hand over more ransom daily. Meanwhile, our hero, double IQ scientists, they're doing their best to infiltrate the ivory towers and turn off the doomsday machine. And right now, it might seem like there's no hope. Like our hero scientists are tied upside down over a pit of sharks with laser beams on their head, being slowly lowered into the water. But I believe in science. And I think I know what's coming next. Any second now, those scientists' eyes are going to turn green. Their muscles will bulge and snap the restraints. And the idiot politicians will realize their mistakes. They've made the scientists angry. And you wouldn't like them when they're angry. That moment is actually why I needed the mic, mainly. Because I get to the end and my voice just can't do that for very long. And then I was like, maybe I'll juggle, and that way I can recover my voice. At the end of that poem, ha 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 ha, I'm just juggling. So, alright, one thing I can do better than anything else with the juggling ball is juggle on the back of my hand. Even though there's legs here, so.
Oh!
There you go. The key to juggling is to do it like really fast and then you're done. Okay. This poem is like half memorized. Yeah. In mathematics, this poem starts with a math joke. In mathematics, the set of all rational numbers is represented by a bold-faced capital Q. Meanwhile, in America, ironically, the set of all irrational people are also represented by a Q. All those non-critical thinkers who invaded the Capitol last January apparently genuinely believe the bold-faced lie that our country is being run by a cabal of satanic, pedophiliac Democrats. And Trump was going to save us from them. Learning about that for the first time was kind of like learning the truth behind Scientology. I mean, who makes a more believable divine savior? Xenu, overlord of the Galactic Confederacy, or our ex-president? All hail Xenu! And I almost feel bad for people who believe this stuff. Most of them are just poorly educated and uninformed. Just because America's school system failed them, that doesn't make me hate them. More like pity, and I wish they'd read a book instead of Twitter. Question: why is Q so popular on Twitter? Because Q is always followed by you. Q is always followed by you. I made that joke up. Q isn't just an omnipotent alien relentlessly trolling Picard on Star Trek The Next Generation to drive the overarching series plot anymore. Now he's also an anonymous idiot, endlessly trolling half of our previous generation to drive them crazy with conspiracy theories and plots. And old dudes who look like Picard are thirsty for conspiracies like they're Earl Grey tea. But you know what's really crazy? There actually is a bunch of old white dudes that have been preying on young women this whole time. Only they're not hiding in the basements of pizza restaurants. They're living large on yachts and going to private island parties. And they don't worship Satan or eat people. They worship money and eat people's dreams. And Trump was never going to save us from them. He was at the parties. He was one of them. Meanwhile, Q never cared about kids. If he did, he'd be retweeting Amber Alerts, and he would have been against family separations on the southern border. You can't argue with irrational people any more than you can express an irrational number as a fraction. In the face of all this idiocy, all we can do is pursue truth, educate our next generation, and grow our rational numbers. So the best way to make people believe anything is to repeat it over and over again. Now, you might not believe me when I tell you that the best way to make people believe anything is to repeat it, but I know I can convince you because the best way to make people believe anything is to repeat it. And you might say, hang on a second. I think the best way to make people believe me is by using strong arguments and evidence that I'm right. And you might be a Democrat. Still convinced that science is real and things are more complicated than they seem, when I know in my gut that's the best way to make people believe it. And you aren't going to be able to prove me wrong. I know that the majority of people don't have the time and energy to research whether or not the best way to make people believe anything is to repeat it. So I can get away with saying that the best way to make people believe anything is to repeat it, and you aren't going to be able to prove me wrong at all. You're going to go around telling everybody, this guy at this poetry show kept saying that the best way to make people believe anything is to repeat it, which is obvious bullshit. And most members of your audience will agree with you. But some of them might perk up their ears and say to themselves, maybe that Danny Strack guy is onto something. Maybe the best way to make people believe anything is, in fact, to repeat it. And so, in the process of trying to refute me, you're just spreading my name and message further than I could have without your help. So I'm sticking to my talking points. The best way to make people believe anything is to repeat it. I didn't come on this news program to have a real conversation. I came out here to say at you that the best way to make people believe anything is to repeat it. You might have asked me about healthcare or the president's ties to Russia, but all I'm going to tell you is that the best way to make people believe anything is to repeat it. You might have asked me about hypnosis or propaganda. All I'll say to that is if you repeat anything enough times, with enough authority, if enough people are standing next to you saying the same thing, your audience will start to doubt everything. The best way to make people believe anything is to repeat it. Do you even know the difference between propaganda and hypnosis? Do you even know that the best way to make people believe anything is to repeat it? Do you even know the difference between propaganda and being lulled into a false sense of insecurity? Do you even know the difference between hypnosis and being lulled to sleep? Not impressed at all. All right. Walking past a church last night, wasn't really last night, it was a couple weeks ago. It's like a month ago. I'm going to be honest with y'all. It was like 4 months ago. But it's still new. Walking past a church about 4 months ago, an LED screen out front flashed messages in Technicolor succession. Bright blue text on a yellow field said, text your prayers to 800-800 for God. 10 seconds. Then the screen switched to green and red. Stay healthy. Get vaccinated. Then pink on purple. Catch our service live stream this Sunday. Then black and white. God is love. And I thought, how progressive. They want to spread the word about their faith, but they're doing it in a healthy and thoughtful way, given the pandemic and current political discourse and everything. And I imagine that these Christians in this church actually practice what their Savior preached. Turn the other cheek, seek out peace, love the poor and the meek. And then I went home and fell asleep. And I dreamed I was back there in front of God's keep. And the sign kept flashing and said, God is love. and Christ was an early progressive. God is the wokest merry fucker, is the world, is down for all the causes. Sign said gay. God says gay. Sign said God doesn't care who you love or what pronouns you use, just as long as you love. Sign said if God exists, they're a sexy, gender non-conforming spirit of goodness, gracious, almighty, anger at any one of their children who uses their name to vainly attack another being they created. Sign said people who do stuff like that are hypocristians. And Dream Me said, hypocristians, good one, Dream God. Sign said, hark, the herald ignorance sings. Dream Sign said, yet, God is a scientist. They created all of this. Our ecosystem is an experiment to prove the most magnificent hypothesis. And Dream Me said, I'm not following your logic, Dream Sign. Are you changing topics? And Sign said, it's all one topic. I'm talking about God being progressive. Yay! Though I walk through the supermarket in the valley of death, I shall fear no COVID. Sign said, thank Yahweh for vaccines. Thank the Lord for reproductive rights. Thank the Almighty for abortion. Thank God for knowledge and our ability to share it. And then the sign from God said, wake up and spread the gospel. Wake up and spread the word. Hey. One more poem in my set, and then you'll hear from Seth, and it'll be great. All right. You have the right to remain silent. You also have the right to an attorney. You might think you have the right to a phone call, but that depends on what state you're in. And that attorney might be assigned by the court, which they don't have to do until you've been indicted, which means, depending on whether or not you have money for bond or bail, you might be sitting in jail for up to 6 months, just waiting. But you do have the right to remain silent during that time. Rights are weird like that. They come with a lot of maybes and mights. They say you have the right to an attorney, but they don't tell you that attorney might have more cases than the best can handle, and they might not be the best. You have the right to be arbitrarily assigned the cheapest attorney the state can find, but hey, a lot of them might be tireless public servants working hard to make a difference. Maybe you'll get one of those. When the Declaration of Independence declares that we are all endowed with the inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, it's nothing but a bold and lofty lie, never enshrined as law. When a thing is inalienable, it can't be taken away. But a cop can take your liberty, and a court could keep it. A cop might even take your life, like it means nothing, and get away with it. And even if a cop read you your rights, a judge and jury might still take your life. And it's pretty hard to pursue happiness when you're dead. These things we call rights, they're just agreements we all made about how we wish things were. But the Bill of Rights is nothing but a list of things you can do to lose your job or your life, practice the wrong religion, be the wrong kind of person, bear arms in the wrong place, say the wrong thing. Right now, we're arguing about adding health care to the Bill of Rights, and that sounds awesome. I think we should definitely do that, but while we're arguing about it, we might remember that nowhere in the Constitution does it say you have the rights to even the most basic things you need to live. You don't have the right to clean air or fresh water. Just as anywhere in America where breathing is a choke, just as anywhere with lead in the pipes and no plans to replace, you don't have the right to shelter. Just ask the million American homeless living under every overpass from sea to shining sea. You don't have the right to be free. Just ask the 2.5 million in prison, more people than live in Houston, many forced to work for pennies in for-profit industries. You might call it modern slavery. We might remember that every day the people in power are doing their damnedest, working like hell to erode the limited rights the rest of us have left. But you don't have to say anything. You don't have to speak up. You don't have to do anything. No matter what else happens. That's the one right they can't take away. Your right to remain.
That's good.
Yeah! Woo-hoo!
Well, I tell you, so we're coming near the end of our show. Have y'all had a good time so far today? Well, I told people, I said, if you come out, I know when you hear a poetry show, you say to yourself, oh, poetry. But are you not entertained?
Yeah!
Well, speaking of entertaining, I'm sure that y'all figured out that Charles Moorhead is an extremely talented magician and mentalist from the Austin area, and we have also been graced by his presence this evening. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and allow this asshole to come up and entertain us one more time. Please come up here to the stage. Y'all give a round of applause for our in-house magician and mentalist. All right. Thank you very much, sir. I'm so ready to be entertained some more.
So, there's something that is bothering me, and I want to come back to something we did a moment ago. And for that, I have a present for somebody in the audience tonight. This is for you. Don't open it yet. That said, I would like 3 people to help me out with this. 3 people who know words. Coincidentally, we're in a room full of poets. So, once again, if you would like to take part, please raise your hand. So we've got 1.
1, 2. Come
We
on
got
now.
2.
And 3. There you go.
Let's give them a hand. Good job. Join me on stage. Come on now, keep it going. Let's all go. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I believe this is more about empathy than about telepathy. And words have a certain way to convey who you are when you use them. As poets, I'm sure you all know this. So I'd like you all to take a word. Now, it doesn't have to be a short word, but something you can scribble down in a couple of seconds so we're not here all night.
I gotta be able to spell it.
So I will give you a card here. I will give you a card there, and I will give you a card. Unfortunately, I only have 1 word in Sharpie at the moment, so you'll have to share. While they're doing that,
Oh.
I might have to. I know, I'm sorry. While they're doing that, I want to show you guys what is probably what started me getting into magic. And that was, most of you may not remember this guy, but there was a guy in the 80s called Irving Younger. And he was specifically known for this item I have in my hand right now. A spoon. I want to do this. You guys might be my eyes of the audience. Show the tricky bits. I want you to see what happens. Would you say that has a bit of a bend to it?
I would say that.
Everyone focus on this middle part. As I rub it, imagine it heating up. And watch. Here we go. I don't know if you can see this in the back. wooden spoon. How do we break everything down? One by one. It's important too that you remember your words. If you forget your words, this goes terrible. And him to be shuffled up. So, at this point, you all know your words. I'm going to show you and say the words out loud. Do your best not to react. If you say, oh, that's my word, this all becomes an exercise of futility, not minor. Okay, nice. So the first one, I don't know if you can all see this, but the word is eucalyptus. So just look at me. Let's see. Eucalyptus. Don't give me anything else. Eucalyptus. Very good. Same thing. Eucalyptus. Eucalyptus. There was no hesitation with yours. I believe you're thinking eucalyptus. Is that correct? Take your card and have a seat. Well then, we'll come back to that. So we know this. Huh. Okay, that's fine. Let's see what the next one is. This one is free. Eucalyptus was yours, I believe, correct? Oh. All right. We're going to switch gears. So, like I said before, there's not always a guarantee that this is going to work. Instead, I'll have the two of you gentlemen, make sure you see. I'd like to work with you, if you don't mind. Give them a round of applause again. Think of a new word. Again, kind of the same kind of requirements there. Think of a new word. And just print it on that card. I'll give you the pen again. Print it on the card. Don't let me see it. In a moment, I am going to ask you to give it to me face down. Now, put it in there. Fantastic. You can hold on to that for a second. I would like you to take this envelope, seal it up, lick it, make sure it's nice and sealed, and we're going to come back to that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand you, let's say, 3 more, and I'm going to hand you a couple of cards. Now, what you're going to do is you know what, I don't have cards. Shuffle those up, seal them all up, shuffle them up, so that I don't know and you don't know which one contains yours. Very thrilling. Be hard. Shuffle them up, shuffle them up. Hold out your hand with them on top of it. Legacy. Okay, I'll take the pen back. I want you to think of your word. What I'm looking for is there's an art known as psychometry. When somebody is emotionally attached to something, even briefly, they will put parts of their energy into it, the psychic state. I don't know necessarily that I believe that, but I do believe that our words connect us. I don't think this is yours. I don't think this is yours. We have 2 left. Think of your word. Take this out. Think. See it right there. I'm going to ask you to take the microphone and in a moment say the word in your biggest, brightest voice. I think I got it. I think I've got it. In a moment. I'm going to show the audience what I believe the word to be. Nice and loud, tell me what the word you're thinking of.
Eagle.
And who been to? Nice and loud, what was the place you were thinking of?
Amsterdam.
Ladies and gentlemen, Amsterdam.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, man, I didn't get it the first try. I'm not going to do that with the other ones, but you're special, I guess. I'd left you a note. Go ahead and open that up and read out loud what it says.
I hope you visit Amsterdam soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, of introducing one of my personal best friends and the man who made me realize poetry is not lame. Mr. Seth Walker. Let me give you a wonderful background on this man. Years ago, about 10 years ago, we met at a coffee shop, and I heard him laying out his soul. I didn't like the poetry at the time, but I loved the emotion. I loved the passion coming out of this. We met and we talked for a bit and had this beautiful connection. Over the years, he has been an inspiration to myself and countless other performers, countless other musicians, artists, poets, you name it, he's involved with it. And when he asked me to be a part of this tonight, I dropped everything to have the absolute honor to share a stage with him. So it is with nothing but the most respect and honor to be here. I would like to present to you, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Seth Walker.
Some days, I wake up hard. So hard. Harder than granted wishes it could be. So hard, the upstairs neighbors knock back. I had to wake up in stained sheets, scent laying around my upper lip. Did my laundry, cleaned the kitchen, smelled you all morning smiling. Then I realized that the only thing I hate more than you is me. For falling this deep, for walking into such obvious bear traps, for sticking my heart where my dick should have gone. Thank y'all. How y'all doing tonight? So, if y'all haven't figured out yet, my name is Seth Walker, but I promise you I am the least important person who is here this evening. I want to take this moment in my own set to ask you all to give another round of applause for our amazing round of performers tonight, Mr. Danny Strack, Mr. Christopher Michaels, for our amazing, amazing magician, Mr. Charles Moorhead, for Tom the World Poet, for all of our poets here, including Mr. Iggy, and for his accompaniment here, for all the musicians. Truly, y'all have blessed my life by coming down here and being part of this magical evening tonight. So please. Speaking of all of my amazing friends, one of the blessing parts of traveling around the country is that you get to meet a lot of other artists and musicians. and one of the most incredible musicians that I've had the blessing and honor to know in my life is actually here in the audience this evening. And as most of y'all know, I don't play piano, but he happens to. Y'all, there's a world-renowned pianist in the house tonight. The first time that I was living down here in Austin, he actually had the honor of going to Carnegie Hall as a guest of honor, where they sat around and played his music all night for him. So I told him, I was like, dude, that's crazy. I can't imagine going to a place and hearing people read my poetry all night. I feel like I'd be cringing in my seat. He said, no, they did a good job. Please, put your hands together and welcome to the stage, Mr. Randall Bass, y'all. Get my little things together here. I wrote down my little set. There it goes. So it's funny, I wasn't planning on reading anything tonight. I was planning on doing a bunch of old school stuff and just performing all night. And then a couple of my friends had said, dude, if you're going to come back here, like, Danny was like, I've literally heard everything you have said. You need to bring some new poetry. So I was like, shit, man, all right. I had a fan of mine that hit me up recently, and she sent me this voice message that literally put me in tears, where she was said, Seth, like, as a poet, is this just our curse? That we just are always going to be bombarded with life? And I said, honey, I hate to tell you this, but yeah. But as poets do, we're really not that eloquent outside of writing and editing. That's why we do that. So for anyone who thinks that we're as slick off stage as we are on stage, know that that is a damn lie. So I wrote this poem for her. Dear Em, your midnight messages left me in tears this morning. Wishing I had a better answer than I did, but the only thing I knew to do was pray for you. Write a poem about it. No, I don't think the plight of the artist is the burden of feeling too much. Yes, I do think the plight of feeling too much is the burden of being an artist. Most days, I just wish I was a normal person. Driving an SUV with 15 kids, a husband who made 6 figures in the oil industry, and not thinking about it all. But most days, instead, I watch the news, talk to friends who are in trouble, feel all the feelings. Let the thoughts pass between my ears. I hear, I see, I feel. Make art about it. I don't honestly know which came first, the chicken or the egg, the extreme empath or the artist, the trauma or the processing of it. I just know that life sucks when it doesn't. I know that my feelings sound better as poetry than internal conflict. That my best poems are ones I wish I didn't have to write. So let this be your proof that suffering is transmutable through art, that pain can be cured, that most antidotes are derived from the poisons themselves. So I'm sure you all remember the time before the January 6th riots. There were a lot of other riots going on in the country. Not gonna lie, stood behind those. I tried to explain to friends that there is a difference between responding and acting. That when the people on January 6th were doing their things, attacking the Capitol, that was a very different action than all the Black Lives Matter protests that happened before that. There was not a comparison. The other thing is that whenever people were talking about all police are bad, just get rid of all the police, I had to remind them that there are good ones out there. There are some people who really want to change the world, and they signed up to do that job because they wanted to do that thing, and they're caught in a shit system. It is not the individuals, it is the system that counts, but at the same time, it is the individual's responsibilities inside of that system to change it. So I wrote an open letter. Dear honest friends and law enforcement and the other good ones, thank you for your dedication. For dedicating your lives' work to the service of the public. Thank you for risking your own ass every day that you clock in with hopes for a better world. Thank you for the mercy that you've shown and the justice that you deliver in order to keep peace, make our lives better. I'm so sorry that you're having to hear this from a poet, not your president, but your job description now includes policing other officers. The chain of command now requires you to choose which orders to follow. That chain of command now requires you to change. You work too hard to make a good name to let other people fuck it up. This also means that this is your moment of righteousness to shine. Aside from that, you can eventually stop listening to the rest of this letter because this shit has nothing to do about y'all. Now to all the other ones. Thin blue line no longer determines which side of this you're actually on. It's time for you as an individual human to choose. How will your grandchildren remember you? I recently found out that my grandfather was a Klansman. When my aunt discovered his paperwork through old trunks, it finally made sense why the family disowned her for marrying outside of her race. It also changed the tone in which I spoke of his wisdom. When your grandchildren ask you which side you were on, what will you have to admit? Will you still revel in the stories of police not policing the Proud Boys, but beating up the protesters? Will you still be laughing about the tear gas canisters you shot into people's cars as they drove through intersections in Denver? Will the phrase "light 'em up" still bring the same chuckle to your belly? Will the regret still be worth the paycheck when you realize you should have switched sides? When you realize it was time to switch sides, will it have been soon enough? When you realize it was time to switch sides, will it have been soon enough for you to avoid shaming yourself in 20 years from now? When your grandchildren are mixed race, will you still be able to look them in the face and tell them that you fought for them? Because now is that time for that decision. There are a lot of confused children hiding behind power and badges. But this is the moment that you determine whether you're going to be counted with them. You don't get paid enough to fight your own community or deprive the rights for your friends and family to march for their lives. You were raised better than this. You know that I'm right. Maybe your grandchildren, maybe your grandparents taught you to hate, but as an adult, you have to decide whether you are ready to join the people in their resistance. Or if you're going to stay on the wrong side of that thin blue line. Thank you. Alright, so hopefully we got through some of the heavy shit. That was my main thing. I feel like every set has to have a little sexy, a little political, a little thoughtful, a little fun. Now, there's a lot of crazy shit going on in the world right now, especially a lot of people are confused about this whole pronoun game. A lot of people are scared to address the shit because it's just, it's tip-toey topic. So I was actually doing some shows up and around Denver in the drag community. Started going out to drag shows and performing poetry with them. So everybody's about their pronouns and stuff. And so people ask me, they say, well, Seth, what is your pronoun? And I tell them, I say, well, I go by fuck, fucker, and fucks. So it starts off in this kind of joking thing, and then one night my friend sat me down and they were like, it sounds kind of funny, but like on a serious tip, like, how do you feel about this? So I told them, I was like, my thoughts are that race is to culture the same way as sex is to gender. Like, this my skin. Like, these my genitals. These my great-great-grandparents, and this is how it was raised. Hi. Underneath that, I am a person. I've never actually met my great-great-grandparents. I was raised in a country, in a time where I listened to everyone's music. I saw everybody dance without discrimination. I heard the whole world speak in every language through eloquent translations. I was told who I am, who I can and cannot be. Just like everybody else that I know. I didn't choose my biology at birth. I've attempted to alter myself before to fit who I am inside better, but over time I've realized I will never be able to alter myself enough to not be perceivable as who I wish I wasn't. I'm a human who doesn't understand why yet. So, when I do answer pronouns, it's just for others. Not for me, but like to make you more comfortable cover. So I tell them my pronouns are fuck, fuckers, and fucks. Meaning it doesn't really matter what I check in this box. You will never see me for who I am. So I give up. I'm just done trying. This world, it's not meant to see you. It's not meant to know you as a lover. Not meant to succor you as a swaddled infant. This world is here to remind you that if you do not stand your ground, someone will take it from you. This world is not here to define you. You are here to define yourself to this world, so know thyself. Be you penis-bearing and devilicious, know thyself. Be you moon-entangled and warhammer-wielding, know thyself. This world is already full of agreeing yes men, so if you're still waiting for backup to move forward, give up and just fucking do it. I wish I could tell you this world will change. That eventually people will understand that support troops are coming. But my friends, if there's anything I can offer to my old reflection, it would be to stop acting so hard when ain't nobody watching. Truth is, very seldom is anyone ever paying attention. Fortunate reality is that no one actually cares until you try. And when you try, they will judge you. And the weight of your efforts will be weighed against the weight of their insecurities. And eventually, everything just fucking falls to obscurity, so you might as well be yourself. Just goddamn be yourself. This world will hate you, no matter who you are, what you do, or become, so you might as well make yourself comfortable in your own skin. Feel welcome in your home without answering to a census. Be a bad bitch of a diva with a beard and a penis, and when people ask for pronouns, say fuck. Fucking mean it. Also, so speaking of new shit, I also had a friend of mine who said, hey man, I know you're gonna do some new shit, but I'm gonna need you to do some old shit. I'll tell you what, I'll do this show, but only if you do some of this old shit. So, I pulled one out of the back books just for one of my buddies here. I remember the day they brought you home from the hospital. hadn't yet met, I loved you through the window from the backyard. One time when you were 5, you hugged me after autumn had stripped me of my leaves. We used to talk back when you could still hear me. I told you to squeeze me tighter, dry your eyes, my knots are what make me this beautiful. I shed my leaves on purpose to catch snowflakes on my fingertips to show you when you get home from school. I gave you every piece of food I ever produced, dropping the right one ready to free my fingers to make more. You only deserve the freshest. So I grew tirelessly in an attempt to be a one-trunk orchard. My arms only strengthened to feed and hold you. But as you grew, you forgot how to hear me. Chalked up the wisdom passed down to imaginary friends and ADD, discounting my assurances that the purpose of life is growth. To let your heart unfold, blossoming the fruits to feed a weary soul's sun. Let your arms stretch out wider every year. Learn from the redwoods, keep your head in the clouds while staying firmly rooted in the ground, despite what they tell you, this is not a dichotomy. Pessimists just don't speak with us trees. You had a chance. When you were 15, you lost your virginity beneath my shade after seducing your first love with a picnic. I treated you both with blushing apples and kept secrets. A week away from graduation, you came home bearing these shoulder boulders that school buses just couldn't compete with. I smiled from the roofs up when you climbed my trunk teary-eyed for the first time since you got too cool for us to talk. When you threw that rope over my arm, I thought you were finally going to put that old tire to good use. So I flexed my fibers as you tied all 13 knots. I didn't understand. When you put your head where that old spare should have been. When you adorned yourself with an unfashionable necklace like a sigh of relief. You slipped through my fingers faster than I could catch you. Riding and kicking, I shed my leaves like clouds shed tears. Trying to put a mountain on your feet. I screamed, just reach. I swear if you grab my hand, I'll grow you a peach. Anything to not have this memory burned into me. If I could have self-immolated, my starburst would have put most to shame. I let go of the ground, tried to topple like Babel, but Mother Earth wouldn't release my feet enough for yours to touch. As deep as I've fallen for you. I couldn't fall for you. So I just rocked you to sleep, like your grandmother's chair, made from my grandmother's spine. We swayed together all afternoon until around 9 when the paramedics came to pluck you. My most precious of all fruits. I'll carve your name in this year's ring. Next August, my apples will come out salty and seedless. I'll do nothing but taunt every bulldozer to pass me like a bull in a barrel till one finally comes to take me, shape me into a million sheets, making me slice my skin a poem of remembrance. I'll forever die for his lightning bolts and attempt to follow you back to that heavenly nature with that one open space in the backyard. I'm coming home to you. My boy. My boy. Now please give it a one more time. Whew. I tell you what, one of the honors of my life, the first time I saw the theater, I was like, one day I'm gonna do poetry there. Everyone's like, shut up, Seth. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. It's really nice to finally do it.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for being a part here. So, 2 more poems this evening for you. Love sucks. Unless it doesn't. When it's good, it's really good. When it's over, shit gets crazy. Especially if you love someone that was crazy. So recently there was a thing that happened in the headlines that kind of blew me for a loop. Was this whole Johnny Depp shit, man. I started processing it more, and the thing is that there are a lot of arguments on kind of both sides. The unfortunate reality is that toxic masculinity has created the environment for a lot of other toxic things that just kind of flow downhill. So a lot of us saying like, oh man, this sucks. It's like, yeah, but we also kind of made our own beds and now we're sleeping. But also, life has the ability to change. And as it changes, it gets crazy. Seeing all that was going on in the world and loving to write open letters as I do, I wrote an open letter to Johnny Depp. You know, Johnny, people keep posting, you'd never believe how common this really is. I do. For too long, chivalry was saviorism. Men charging in to save the distressed damsels. Men made war zones scorched earth over fantasies of, but if I save her, she'll eventually sleep with me, right? We did this to ourselves, Johnny. This is the inevitable end of man's toxicity. We've now outlawed rationalism. Relationship dynamics for the enlightened man has now become all cage and impossible paradox. Women can still scream, get in your face, throw things, hit you, call you names, insult you little, you steal from you, even plan their path to destroy you while still being with you. Don't you raise your voice, Johnny. Don't let her get a view of you drinking, Johnny. Stay on your toes even in your home, Johnny, because ain't nobody gonna believe you overheard, Johnny. When the damsel cries wolf into the courtroom, you better be ready to just shut up. Hide your feelings. Stay calm. Don't cry. Don't look angry. Don't look. Anything you say can and will be used against you online. It's not about the whole recording of her screaming at you. It's about the time you yelled back. It's not about her cutting off your finger, Johnny. It's about the time you read the villa alone. It's not about her secretly recording you, gathering evidence while still being with you. It's not about when she hit you, Johnny. It's about your drinking. It's all about your drinking, Johnny. If you call it unfair, you'll be marked as a men's rights activist in Kansas. And if you don't, you'll be labeled as an abuser and canceled. Got no good options here, Johnny. This is what we've done to manhood. This is where toxic woke culture eventually got us. We are here as celebrities to be crucified for everyone's entertainment anyways. Nobody was surprised to find out that you did cocaine with Marilyn Manson. People were surprised that we might have been wrong about you. People were surprised when they looked in the mirror and saw torches in their hands going after an innocent man over a white woman's tears. Johnny, eventually the wolf cries stopped powering rumor mills. Patterns reveal themselves in more ease over time. The lives of great artists are often full of turmoil and dismay, but that doesn't mean that we deserve it. We're all watching you, writhing trauma responses, uncomfortable even the safety of our own living rooms. The distance doesn't matter when this shit hits so close to home. Stay strong, Johnny boy. The wolves, they've only begun to circle. At least you get your day in court. And the truth can only be hidden for so long. So thank y'all again for coming out this evening. merchandise. Please support these artists. The other thing is, if you just want to throw down some cash on your way out, every single dollar that you put towards this event tonight is going to be split equally amongst all the artists here. Please make sure y'all support your local artists because ain't nobody else trying. I want to leave y'all off on a good tip. And I know relationships suck. But you know what else sucked? Was the pandemic. Now, I am cursed now with a crazy ex, but I had a good partner during the pandemic. And I will tell you that quarantining is a very different story when you're lonely and single versus when you're locked down with someone freaky. So, I wrote a poem about married life. I'd like to share it. I saw an internet meme during quarantine teaching young people about dating and social distance. Said keep 6 feet apart, don't sleep in the same bed, try to avoid intimately close conversations, instead sit on the opposite sides of the room. But married couples, y'all just keep doing the same damn thing. Well, I call bullshit. My wife lets no good crisis go to waste. I became unemployed just to get my dream job as my wife's sex slave. While people were bunking down, sleeping, me and my wife were taking the time to get fucking freaky. Coronavirus had the masses of hazmats. I just wrapped the thighs around my neck and called her my face mask. Short and curly feels forever. Yeah, I plowed that, put a bull ring around my nose to help me keep track. Look at that split lady, split seriously, devilishly like candy and shit. A landing strip won't save me from this crash course. I nicknamed her fourth meal because she's my smash course. Mouthfuls of beautiful pudding, desserts of shame, and a combo doing Buddhist God called her name. I'm like an owl on a tree with a lollipop bit, counting down the taste of center with my tongue tipped. If you like it, you should have put a ring on it. Done. Throw a saddle at it. Throw a saddle on it as my wife rides me into the setting sun. Hip twitching kamikaze, lips met interlocking, hypnotized by the pussy popping, flip me so hard, this is my ass talking. Will the regrets, oh, pardon me, y'all.
Been running the steps.
I have a sweet tooth. I used to like to eat Claire's, Chandra's, Jessica's, and assorted Sarah's. I set up a booth at the Lilith Fair, see how much I could eat in 5 minutes, but it was a rigged game, not fair. Apparently I can pull a blindfolded lesbian, I swear. Had to slow my roll and form my palate for more refined affairs. Met my dream girl, tasted her lips. Overcome by a mommy, I moved down to her hips. Overcome by little mommy, I was teasing the tip. Blinked my eyes, 2 years later, I was like all fucking married and shit. Surprised my past bachelor life. Fuck quarantine, but thank God for my wife. May God bless us all with somebody freaky to share our lives with. And for all you other married couples, just keep fucking, but stay hydrated. I cannot emphasize enough how grateful I am to be able to share this amazing stage with all these amazing poets tonight. Thank you all for being here this evening. My name is Seth Walker, but I promise you I'm the least talented person that has hit this stage tonight, and that was my only job here to you as the audience members, was to make sure that we did this show. And hopefully, we'll have more to come. So y'all please, stay in the loop, keep your ears out, and hopefully we'll see y'all next time. Thank you all for being here again.
try. All should be within your diet.
Okay.
It's like they
Papaya.
got. Oh, they're delicious in the freezer. You should take the whole bag of them. You should put them in the freezer.
Yeah.
They got a great texture, great flavor.
Do you know how to end a live Facebook? I mean, not. This is a YouTube. Sorry, YouTube. It's YouTube. Is it just end?
I think you might have to press the X. Let's see what happens.
Go lose it. Will it lose all of it?
No.
Okay.
Are you sure you
want to stop?